Now, does the younger generation look younger for their age or older for their age? I see a lot of discourse on social media that young kids look super old for their age and they're dressed super old and they're trying so hard and this, that, and the third. And then I see the other side of the coin where a lot of young people look incredibly young. They look baby-faced. They look so much younger. They're more infantilized. Gen Z is really infantilized, which is a whole nother video in and of itself. But there's a lot of that discourse. And so which one is it? Do they look young or old? I believe that young people still look very young for their ages, but it is the makeup, the culture, the clothing that really ages them. You know, it's the social media culture, it's all this different stuff. It really is the clothes and the culture, but it also is because kids don't have an awkward phase. So today's video is on why kids don't have an awkward phase anymore. And this video is going to focus more on teenage girls rather than boys, just because this discourse is more relevant with girls. It's still a thing with boys, but I just want to speak to the girls, and also I am a girl, so I can give a little insight, you know what I'm saying? I can give a little bit. So I have had this idea for a long time, but I was really inspired to make this video after watching a YouTuber named Queen Chama. She did a video on Alabama Barker and Jody Woods, and I've been asked to talk about Alabama Barker. And I feel sometimes when people ask me to talk about different girls on social media, I feel conflicted because I'm like, what else can I add that hasn't already been said? I don't like doing videos where it feels very redundant and really repetitive. So I decided to kind of just wait and see like how I could orient this video to discuss these two, because I think they're a very interesting dynamic duo to discuss, and Alabama in particular. So I'm going to be getting into it, why I think kids don't have an awkward phase. So let's get into it. So the first and I think most obvious reason why I believe kids don't have an awkward phase is just because of the availability of social media and the ease to jump on trends. So social media has literally changed the entire landscape of life forever. And it's so easy nowadays to learn how to do everything, to learn how to do your hair, your makeup, how to style your clothes for your body shape, your body type. Like, it's so easy now to learn how to do everything. You know, back in my day, which literally was not that long ago, I'm so young still, but I grew up in the 2000s. I was a teen in the early 2010s. And, you know, back then for me, it was literally just bliss, right? We weren't trying to post things for social media. We weren't trying to post things for virality or for our friends. We weren't so concerned about everyone else in the world. We were in our own bubble. So back then, the most coveted gift in 2009 to receive, at least for me and my friends in our age group, was the Nintendo DSi. And this was a very coveted device because it was the first DS that could take pictures. And I was taking all these pictures, and I have all these pictures when I was 11 and 12, and my hair looks crazy, and I'm just smiling, making all these poses, drawing, having so much fun. I'm in middle school, and I am living the life because I'm one of the first people in my friend group to have a DSi, okay? And this was 11, 12, and a little of 13. By 13, I got an iPod Touch. And so I look at these pictures, and I just look at them and I smile. I think they're adorable. For a long time, it would make me cringe. Okay, I would cringe so much looking at these pictures. And even my friends, like, I have photos of them. I'm not going to show them because I don't want to get yelled at, because I know. I know my bestie, Selena. Hey, Selena. I know she's going to yell at me if I were to post this here, so I'm not. But I look at like our pictures and I'm like, we were so adorable and innocent. I just think it's just cute. You know, I just think it's cute. And I think nowadays you have 11 and 12-year-olds that are just the baddie aesthetic, or they're doing the deadpan face. What is that face, like the pose that Kylie does, the dead eyes? I can't even do it because I'm too smiley for that. So looking good was important, but it wasn't as curated. And I'm not gonna lie, for me growing up as a young Black girl in the 2000s, the natural hair movement wasn't a thing. There wasn't a lot of resources to learn how to do your hair. You know, my mom was struggling to do my hair. I was struggling with it, and it was just looking a mess. And so what we would do is we would just like put my hair in braids all the time, and then I would put my hair in a slick back bun. This is so funny, but back then I was obsessed with Obama's daughters. So Malia used to put her hair in a bun fun a lot, and I started doing it because she did it, okay? So that's what I did. That's what I did. But now there's so much availability to learn how to style yourself in any kind of way. But the thing that I really think about back then was the fact that we were still trying to fit in with our peers. That's never changed throughout generations, but we were all collectively awkward together. We were all trying to figure it out together. We were all looking a mess together, okay? We were all looking a mess. Nowadays, there's this perfect, aesthetic you have to fit into. So again, with social media, there's always a trend and aesthetic to try to fit yourself into. I think Gen Z, by and large, especially later Gen Z, I think they're a lot more lax when it comes to individuality, but we still have these trends, whether it's the baddie aesthetic of the mid to late 2010s or the soft core cottage girl aesthetic of the 2020s. And I think not everyone wants to put on a puffy cottagecore dress. I don't mind the puffy dresses or the kitten heels. Not everybody wants to do that to be looked at as a soft cottagecore aesthetic girl or whatever. Not everyone presents the same way. Femininity doesn't present the exact same way for every single person. You know what I mean? So I feel like even though Gen Z is big on diversity, I still believe a lot of these trends stifle our individuality and discourage variability. So the next thing I want to bring up is the constant exposure to what's better, older, and more developed. So this kind of ties into my first point about social media being the reason, but I definitely think another big aspect to this is the fact that we're constantly exposed to these older influencers that are dressing. A lot of young girls are exposed to that. So young teens are using the same social media that they see older people in their 20s, 30s are using and getting attention. So they see that, oh, they're getting attention, they're getting money. This is the thing nowadays. Become an influencer, get a bag. And young teens are constantly exposed to more provocative trends. So not to be the typical back in my day adult, okay, but back in my day, there were the trends and the this and there's all the provocativeness. That's never been null and void from our society, but it was in privacy. Like, you wanted to dance crazy and like drop it low and do all this, you were doing it in the privacy of your room or your friends. Like, you weren't doing it in public for thousands of people to judge you. You weren't being inundated with all of these opinions on you and all these eyes on you. So yeah, a lot of these videos were in the privacy of your room. So you would record them on your webcam, maybe you'd record them on a digital camera, and it was in the privacy of your room with your friends and things like that. There was still a protection of your image and of your innocence because it wasn't blasted online for everybody to see. So many of these girls like Alabama Barker, Jodie Woods, and Eliana Walmsley are incredibly adultified. And the reason why they do this is because this is what garners attention from their peers, from creeps, and older audiences. These girls are not protected because this is what garners attention. This is what gets them money.
And just to make myself clear, I'm not trying to say that these girls are intentionally doing this. A lot of them are probably being coerced. They're probably being pushed or coerced. They probably were, enticed by family to be this way because that's what garnered them money and attention and virality and things like that. But they probably don't really see the problem at their own age now because they're still incredibly young, and it takes time to fully understand the effects of the way they are marketing themselves.
There's no protection for young, impressionable minds. And yes, I know, not all teens care about chasing clout and looking crazy online or like doing all this stuff online, but there's so many that are. And a lot of these adult influencers, they'll push this to their audience. Instagram models, that's what they push and they purport to their audience. At least these people know what they're getting into, but the young girls, these young teens do not. So let me make myself clear. There's nothing out of the ordinary with wanting to look mature and adult. This has been a thing for generation upon generation upon generation. There's nothing out of the ordinary with it. But now this is accelerated. This is accelerated so much more because you're inundated with all this information. You're seeing all these algorithms. These apps are designed to keep you on for hours and hours and hours at a time. And so you're constantly being smacked with information and people's bodies, people's looks, people's aesthetic 24/7. So another factor to this is kind of what I just mentioned, is the fact that you have access to people constantly. When I first got on social media, I was 11 and I made a Facebook. This was in 2009, or I believe it was early 2010. And in this time, Facebook obviously had users and was popular, but it wasn't like it skyrocketed like a year later, at least in my perception. And I was just comparing myself to girls in my class. You know, we were all friends on Facebook, and so we would all post pictures, and that's who I was predominantly comparing myself to. Even Instagram, a lot of people didn't get Instagram in my high school until about 2013, maybe early 2014. That's when a lot of people got Instagram. I was one of the, I say I was an early adopter. I was an early adopter because I loved like tech back then. So I was keeping up with all the apps, you know, so I got Instagram. I was one of the first people in my school. So back then we were just posting pictures of trees and things like that. And then on Facebook, it was just photos with friends. And so I wasn't comparing myself to every 12-year-old in another city, right? I wasn't comparing myself to girls in another city or another state or across the country or across the world. I wasn't doing that, and most of us were not. I saw social media kind of rise, right? I saw it kind of from the beginning, from its infancy, but I feel like the effects didn't really take place until my later teens, which is still bad, but it's not as bad as when you're like 11, 12, 13 and whatever. And now, even for the later teens, it's terrible, you know? So another aspect to this is harmful trends that discourage natural body development. So this has been a conversation for years, of course, and now we're seeing the rise and now fall of the BBLs. You know, BBLs aren't really as much of a thing anymore. And even though this is occurring, even though they're on the decline, it doesn't mean that the effects of the BBL trend are not present in society today. So even though BBLs are on the decline, and I'm glad because of the psychological and physical danger that women went through to get these, even though this is on the decline, that still doesn't nullify or negate all the harmful effects that this trend had on a whole generation of young women. So again, great thing that it's going down. But is this because we've recognized that the BBL trend is really negative and we realize how harmful it is? Or are we just trying to replace it with the next trend? Are we just trying to replace it with the next trend and then go on the hamster wheel all over again? We're always gonna have trends. This has been a thing again for centuries. We're always gonna have trends. But I believe fashion should be trends, not our bodies, okay? Our bodies that we can't help, that we're born into, the only thing we can do to help it is to exercise, eat right, and if you wanna get plastic surgery, you do what you do. But really, we can't, it's not like we can, before we're born, we can get a computer and compute how we're gonna look. Maybe that might become a thing with AI and all this crap now, but at least as it stands, I don't think a baby can go in and get a screen and change how they wanna look when they're 14 and 15 years old. Like, that's not a thing, okay? And you know, the skinny trend of the 90s and 2000s was bad enough with magazines and with the media, but now it's worse with social media. Social media is exacerbating trends rather than discouraging them. We also can't forget clothing lines like Fashion Nova and all these things that came up during Kylie Jenner's era. We can't forget how they were purporting a lot of horrible body standards and body image. You know, around this time, this is when the thick baddie aesthetic came up, and a lot of people were happy about it because it's like, yay, thick is finally in. But you know, there were little girlies like me, you know, who were slim, who felt a little insecure, you know. I felt away for a little bit, you know, when I was really allowing myself to be super influenced by fashion and things in the news and the media. Now, obviously, I love the way my body looks. I work out, I lift weights, I run, I feel really good. I feel the best I've felt in years, okay? And I'm very grateful for the body that keeps me alive every day, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, back then it was a struggle. It was a bit of a struggle. I was nowhere near like how a lot of people's experience. I was nowhere near that, thank God, but still had an effect. Now, I said this in the above points, but I want to expand on this just a little bit, and that's the increased virality. So nowadays, it's so easy to go viral on social media. It's so easy to attain virality. Like nowadays, you can go viral just at the drop of a hat. You know, you're consistent for like 3 months and you go viral. Even my YouTube channel, like I was posting maybe for like 3 months before I started seeing traction. That's not that long compared to a lot of people who take years. And it still is difficult. I'm not going to nullify that, especially on YouTube. It's still very hard to attain success and to maintain it, especially for a long period of time. However, TikTok has made it so easy to go viral just like that. I really do think that this is because of the investment in the creator economy. So the term creator economy refers to the now massive industry that's made up of individuals using their talent, expertise, and unique personality to create content, build an audience online, and grow their own businesses. There are many different types of creators, ranging from bloggers, video creators, and influencers to course creators, podcasters, and even Twitch streamers. So yes, someone like me takes part in the creator economy. So the creator economy is currently worth $250 billion as of 2023, and it's expected to double by 2027. That's a lot. That's a huge investment in the creator economy. I see videos sometimes like, is it too late to start a YouTube channel in 2024? No, it's not too late. They're gonna keep investing in this. You better get on it while you can. If you wanna get this, if you wanna get on this train, get on it while you can. Get on it, because they're not gonna stop it. You know what I mean? This is not gonna stop. This is our new way of life, okay? Influencer is a coveted position amongst children nowadays. Children want to be influencers. This is something they aspire to. Not every kid, but a lot of kids. So it seems like the tail end of Gen Z and Gen Alpha currently are the ones that are most affected by these trends, most affected by social media. But it turns out that only 13% of content creators are Gen Z. So yes, millennials and the elder generation do take a lot of ownership or effect in this. This isn't to say that it's all their fault, because it's not. They do need to take ownership to some degree of the things that they push. I do believe that anyone online, you should be caring about what you put out online and how it could affect other people. Because at the end of the day, if you do have a platform, ideally you want to do things for the greater good, right? But at the same time, it's not all your responsibility. Parents need to be doing their job to monitor kids on social media instead of trying to make their kids the media. They want to make their kids the social media instead of really monitor and protect their innocence. And this is where we go into the dangers. So tying back into Alabama Barker and Jody Woods, this is something I mentioned in my Asia video. I talked about Asia and how Asia was seen as very grown. People have been talking for years about how grown Asia was, how grown she looked, how adult she looked. And, you know, for me, what I said in that video was that Asia, yes, does look very grown for her age, but a lot of it she can't help. A lot of it does have to do with her genetics and just how she's proportioned. She can't really help that. By the way, she's 18 now, but I made this when she was still 17. But the clothes that she wore and the makeup she chose did age her. I think she took a lot of influence from her mother, Christy. And I think a lot of these, again, young teens take influence from their families, take influence from what they see online. But I see for girls like Alabama and Jody, especially Alabama, it seems like Alabama is just so outlandish with it. That's the thing. And I'm not trying to condemn her. I know she's young. I'm not trying to condemn her or judge her, but it just seems like what Alabama purports online is so outlandish. And it just makes me sad, because it makes me think about the lack of protection that her and girls like Jody are having, the lack of protection they have. They really don't. They're not able to protect their innocence. They're being taught to be a brand. And that means, you know, we're going to put you in this dress and we're going to put you, you know, having your boobs out and this, that, and the third. We're going to put all this out there. And that's that on that. That will provoke a response. That will provoke a response, which will make you be more seen and get you more money. You see Travis Barker posting comments on Alabama's posts all the time, and people are very disturbed by the fact that he doesn't seem to check her. He doesn't seem to, you know, try to reel this in and be like, okay, this is a little too much for my daughter. She doesn't need all this exposure. Plus, of all the hate that she gets, it's not really fair for a young girl, but it feels like she's being put together. I mean, her dad is Travis Barker, her stepmom is Kourtney Kardashian, and so it seems like this is just all fair game. I forgot who her mom is, but I think it just goes to show it's sad, because especially when you think about their industry, like I always talk about industry men, and like the people in the industry are just crazy, and the women too. There's a lot of women that are crazy as well. So it's just making you think of the lack of protection they're getting, and the kind of eyes that they'll be seeing, and the kind of attention they're getting. You know, you see all these articles on Alabama Barker like every other week. You know, she just got lip fillers, which seems very akin to Kylie Jenner. It seems like it's a mirror of Kylie Jenner. And Kylie was crazy too. Kylie was doing a lot as well, but even for Kylie, I don't think it was that bad as Alabama. For Alabama, it's just in your face. And I just think it's really dangerous for these young girls. I think it's really dangerous for young girls that are following them, because they're thinking that, oh, I need to look like Alabama, she's my age, you know. Then it also goes to how her self-concept and how she's gonna view her self-worth. And again, there's no condemnation or no judgment by the way she looks, but it's very alarming. You know, it's very alarming that she's allowed to be purported in this way. I mean, there's rumors that Alabama apparently said in a TikTok that she wanted to get a BBL. Apparently, people are rumoring that Jody Woods, so Jordan's sister, got a BBL. It's really horrible. Like I said, to some degree, I think, especially with girls like Jody, like I said about Asia, sometimes you can't fully help how you look. Again, like I said, a lot of people think I look super young. You know, I'm 25. People think I'm 19. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, she can't help that she looks super grown. But then it's the exposure, then it's the poses, it's the kinds of clothing. It will provoke a response. And for some people who are saying, don't come for the clothes, who cares how they look, how they're dressed? No, it will provoke a response. You know, that's the thing. And that's the shock value that I think Alabama's being pushed to go for. I don't think this is all her idea. I don't think she knows the full extent of it. And it just makes you wonder what is gonna happen when she turns 18. I saw a post from Alabama, I believe was her 17th birthday, and it just looked like such a mature gathering or bash for a 17-year-old. Why are these girls constantly posing in front of cars, taking these lavish vacations? It just seems like even the activities themselves are so aged up. But anyway, I just wanted to get into this. I think this is a very interesting topic that could go on and on and on. And then we have to think of girls who don't have the resources that they have, but they're trying to accelerate themselves. They're trying to accelerate and grow themselves. They're even at a less of a safety risk than these other girls. Because I think Chalma also mentioned this in her video that Jody and Alabama, they have these protection, the bodyguards, the gated communities, but they're still going to be heavily affected by this. Imagine the girl that doesn't have those kinds of protections. So I just wanted to open up this conversation. I just wanted to kind of get into it. I think it's a very interesting conversation to have. I really enjoyed looking this up and talking about it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you think about kids not having an awkward phase. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.